recording it. Yeah, so I'm just going to prompt this. This is lesson number 3 today, and we're recording this on June 1st, 2024, and it's all about the houses. So we were just discussing that if people would know more astrology, it would actually solve all those personality tests, because it's kind of, it will make such an easy way to see what people are capable of, what's their challenges, what their greatest gifts are. It's just so easy to see once you do astrology for a while. Maybe we'll get there one day. I'm hoping.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I'm hoping. It would
Yeah.
save us a lot of trial and error, because we're all trying to figure out who we are, right? And it takes us such a long time. And just imagine if you would just learn astrology when you were 14, 15, 16, that age where we are not sure about who we are, about what people are, about the time cycles and life cycles. So that would help us immensely make some order in the mess around. Yeah.
Yeah, and how we work and communicate together. It's a helpful tool in many ways.
Very helpful tool. I think it's the way I like to do when I do a reading, I explain to people that I'm a great analyst. I can analyze who they are. I can tell them where they are, in which cycle, what's coming up, what they're experiencing now, but I cannot do the process with them. I'm not a processor. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a therapist. For that, they need someone to hold their hand. But the ability to see the overview and the analysis of the personality is such a helpful tool that people finally say, oh my God, I finally have clarity. They get it. They get the clarity of the picture. And that's such an important tool. That's why I love teaching astrology. The more of us knowing astrology, the more we can, help others to see what the big picture is. It's a great tool. Hi, Sophia. How are you?
Good. How are you? Sorry I'm late. My computer, I had to restart it and everything.
Computers do their thing. They have a personality, especially if you're in a rush. They have a bad temper. So.
Exactly.
I learned that. All right. So any questions regarding the homework? I saw that most of you are on Facebook. Thank you very much for joining. I think this is a good practice. So at least you see what I'm posting and you see what other people are posting, and you start getting the note, hey, how are you? Dana, what's her name?
Gabrielle,
right, Gabrielle. Hey, Gabrielle.
Gabrielle wants to say hi to you every time, Galit, now.
That's great. We have a young astrology student. I so appreciate that. Start them young and they become really good people. That's perfect. So I was saying regarding the Facebook group that thank you for joining. It's good to practice. And even if you don't post something of your own, which I highly recommend that you do, but if you don't, at least you get to see what other people are sharing and what I'm sharing, and you get the notion of how to construct those sentences, because astrology, it's like a program. And if you know how to construct the sentences of that program, you'll figure out astrology. It is like mathematics a little bit. You put X plus Y equals Z, and you know the scheme of things. Of course, everybody will take it to their interpretation, personal interpretation. What we're going to do today is put everything in perspective. Today is a really important lesson. We're going to learn the houses, and I'd like to share my screen. And by the way, to all of you people that are not joining the live, thank you very much for still being in touch through the Facebook group, or for being in touch through the email and letting me know that you won't be able to make it, or yes, be able to make it, and letting me know that you are watching and you are catching up. Thank you. I appreciate that, because sometimes a lot of people are not joining because of other engagement that they have, and that's quite all right. You do you at your own pace, as long as you do it. My goal is to have you finish this course and know how to read your chart on a basic level, but know that fundamental basic level. So today we're going to do the houses, and the houses are actually the structure of the chart, and the structure is really important. And we have a few house systems, and I'm going to discuss that. But what I want you to know that no matter what house system you're going to choose in your astrology practice, the main important part in the chart system are the angles and how the angles are created. So this is a chart, and think about the chart as a 360 degrees circle, and a circle always have 360 degrees. Today is the day where we have to have some mathematics skills, not a lot, but some. So a circle has 360 degrees, and when we divide that circle into 12 equal segments, we will reach 30 degrees per segment. 360 divided by 12 is 30. Very simple mathematics. If it was a perfect world and the astrology system was perfectly dividing the heavens, then each one of those segments would have 30 degrees, but it is not a perfect world. And at the time of your birth, the hospital that you were born in was right here in the middle. And this was the seen sky, which is kind of the southern part of the zodiac from the standpoint of us on Earth. And this was the unseen sky, the bottom part of the zodiac, which was the northern part of the Earth at that particular moment. On the left side, there was the eastern horizon. On the right side, there was the western horizon. Now, this is exactly flipped from what we would imagine it standing on top of the earth. And I want you to remember those directions because they will come handy at one point. So the top of the chart is the south side. The bottom of the chart is the north side. The left of the chart is the east side. And the right of the chart is the west side. Now, the left of the chart right here, at the moment of your birth, just imagine the hospital sitting here, and it's whatever time on the earth, and we're looking up in the sky, and there is a constellation that rises up as we are being born, because earth is a round thing, right? And we're standing right here at the top of the earth, but the heaven keeps, we're spinning, and we're spinning around the sun, but the earth also is tilting, right? It is spinning around its tilt. And so constantly those constellations keep moving. And you saw those time-elapse movies where the constellations are moving really fast and somebody is standing on the earth and doing this long time exposure. And you see all those constellations keep moving. And they're moving in a certain way. They're moving clockwise, the constellation. And therefore, at the moment of your birth, at exactly that moment, there was a certain constellation and a certain degree of that constellation that was appearing in the eastern horizon. And that would be your ascendant or your rising sign. This is the most important part of the chart, the most important angle in the chart, because that angle would determine the rest of the division of your houses in your chart. That angle will determine the opposite angle, which will be an equal angle just on the opposite side. So for example, if you were born with Aries on your ascendant, the opposite side would be Libra, right? We learned the opposition of signs already. Every sign has an opposite sign. So if this was Taurus, the opposite sign would be Scorpio. If this was Gemini, the opposite sign would be Sagittarius. These will be always opposite points. And so will these. If this is the ascendant, this is the descendant. The ascendant will be the beginning of the first house in your chart. So there will be a first house, a second house, a third house, and then there will be another angle that will be a derivative, a mathematical derivative of the longitude. This is the longitude line of where you were born, and this is the latitude line of where you were born. That is the reason why we ask people for their birth information, and we insist on knowing the city and state or country they were born, because otherwise we wouldn't know what's the longitude and the latitude, and we have to have it. It's like a GPS, right? We have to have the coordinates of where you were born, because those would be determining the structure of your chart, the ascendant, the descendant, the IC, and the MC. So the ascendant opens up the chart. It's very important to know that the ascendant is the beginning of the first house. It's the beginning of your chart. The IC is the bottom of your chart. It's the most bottom part of your chart, and it will be the beginning of your fourth house. The descendant is the most western horizon of your chart, and it will be the beginning of your seventh house. And the MC, it's the top of your chart. It's the highest place of your chart. It's the southernmost part of your chart, and it's the beginning of the 10th house. Those are always important angles, and they will not change. They will be determined by the place and time you were born at. So no matter what house system you're going to use, those will be set by the mathematic calculation of your chart. The inner houses may change with different house systems. I'm going to teach you the Placidus house system. However, I've mentioned it before. You may eventually one day through your astrological studies decide to switch to a different house system, and that's quite all right, as long as you stick with the one house system for a while until you get the fundamentals really anchored within your language, within your capabilities and abilities. So let's just talk about the houses in general. There are 4 angular houses. The first angle is the first house, second angle is the 4th house, the 7th house, and the 10th house. Those houses are the most important houses in the chart because they represent a new angle, a new start. They're just attached to those coordinates that we were talking about, the angles of the chart, and they're present in their ability to represent action or initiation. Those houses are considered to be self-initiating action houses. So if you have a lot of planets in your first house, in your 4th house, in your 7th house, in your 10th house, those will be very meaningful planets in your chart. They would have kind of an extra oomph to those planets. The second kind of houses are house number 2, number 5, number 8, and number 11. Those are called succedent houses because they're just the next house after the angle house. And those represent just like the fixed signs. If you think about signs and their placement, actually, the fixed signs are located in those houses. Taurus is located naturally in the 2nd house in the natural wheel. And Leo is located naturally in the 5th house, and Scorpio is located naturally in the 8th house, and Aquarius is located naturally in the 11th house. And those were fixed signs. And what did we say about fixed signs? That they like to stabilize things. They like to have more. They like to guard against changes. They're fixed. They don't like changes so much. They like to hold things. And so they become resilient and strong. The same thing with those houses, even though you may have a totally different sign in those houses, because in a minute, I'll show you why you may have a different sign in those houses. That sign of yours or planets that will be placed in those houses would still get kind of an over vibe of fixity or of stabilization. They would be less chaotic. So even if you have Pisces in your 2nd house, which is a very fluid sign, or even if you have Aries on your 2nd house, which is a very initiative sign, they would be more subdued a little bit and more grounded because of the vibe of the house placement. I told you that today we're going to layer one more layer, which is a very important layer that actually contains the 2 layers that we've learned so far. And as we progress with this lesson, I'll show you how. The third kind of houses are cadent houses. those are transient houses, and they represent more of a transition or a change vibe or kind of a color to the planets that are located within those houses. So the 3rd, the 6th, the 9th, and the 12th would be cadent houses. So now this is actually representing an equal house system. If everything was perfect and this was a perfect world and everything was divided perfectly, this would be 30 degrees per house. And if we would put 0 degrees here and 0 degrees here and 0 degrees here, this would be the beginning of Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. But we don't live in a perfect world. And so here are the points that I've mentioned. And that's really important point that I didn't discuss. Each one of those parts is called a quadrant. And so if we're speaking about the first quadrant, or we're speaking about the second quadrant, or the third quadrant, or the fourth quadrant, I want you to just remember that visualization in your mind, because some people may have a lot of planets in their first quadrant. It will be really easy to see that when you see the chart. Some people may have a lot of planets in their second quadrant. Each quadrant is 90 degrees from the other quadrant. And that's also important to remember, that there are 90 degrees difference from the IC to the ascendant, from the IC to the descendant, and so forth. It's easy mathematics, not too complicated. So here's the whole house system as we described before. The first house would have Aries on its cusp, second Taurus, and so forth. Some people use that house system. We're not going to learn that house system. You can research that if you like. I highly recommend you don't do it right now, because it's just going to be way too confusing. Then there is the equal house system. We're not going to learn that as well. I'm just presenting it here. And that house system takes into consideration the moment of your birth and the exact degree that was rising up at the east. And so if at the moment of your birth, there was 20 degrees Aries rising at your ascendant, that house system would assume that, of course, it will be equal on the opposite side, because we have to have that 180 degrees equality. But that system assumes that each one of those houses will start with 20 degrees. I'm not going to bombard you with why that realization is, or why that system is doing it. I just want you to know that some systems do that, and I don't personally buy into it for 2 reasons. I've been using Placidus for over 40 years. It's been working perfectly in 100% accuracy for me. So I cannot attest for something that I haven't used, and I haven't used any other system. That is my reasoning. And another reasoning is that I don't believe that the world is so equally made, and so we are not really experiencing here a deviation as nature has them. And so I don't buy into the system of equality in the house system. This is the house system that I'm using. It's a little bit complicated, but it's so accurate that I love it. And the reason it is complicated, because it's not perfectly, you don't say, oh, everything is 20 degrees on each one of those houses, and it's really easy to see. You'll have to think a little bit, but it's not beyond anyone's capabilities. It's simple once you get it. So if you were born and at the moment of your birth, there was the constellation Aries was rising, and it was exactly 20 degrees on the ascendant on the horizon, then yes, you have an ascendant at 20 degrees Aries, and yes, you have a descendant at 20 degrees Libra, the opposite. But at the same time, the Earth is not like a perfect sphere, right? It's a perfect round sphere, but it is tilted. And that tilt creates an inequality If the Earth was straight, then the angles would be straight, but the Earth is tilted, and that tilt creates an inequality of the longitude and the latitude intersection point. And so if you take certain mathematics calculation, at the moment of your birth, you may have 20 degrees ascendant descendant line, but actually on the ICMC line, you may have 3 degrees Leo and Aquarius. Leo and Aquarius are opposite signs, that is perfect. But the degree itself, 3 degrees, is not equal to 20 degrees. And that's what throws many people off. People say, but wait, I don't understand. And so they may have 20 degrees on their first house cusp. Those are called cusp, house cusp. And they may have 15 degrees Taurus on their second house and a 14 degrees Cancer on their third house, and then 3 degrees Leo on their fourth house. And that changes in degrees sometimes throw people off. I highly recommend that you just look at charts and you make more and more charts, and you'll see that the deviation of the number of degrees that are indicated on each one of the cusp is easy to spot, because each chart would show you where or how many degrees each cusp contains. And you'll get used to it. You'll get used to it. It's just a matter of seeing it more and more, and you'll get used to it. And it's so accurate, because what do we want from astrology? We want 2 things. A, we would like to know who we are and what this algorithm or this program says about us or about other people. B, we want to be able to predict what's coming. That's the beauty of astrology. We can predict what's coming, and what's coming would be predicted by transits that will transit this wheel. And each time those transits will hit an angle, I'm telling you from experience that that's going to be a pivotal point in your life. And when they change houses, when they move into a different house, that's going to change as well. That's going to create a lot of changes in your life. So those degrees would matter when we take into consideration those transits. It would matter a lot in timing. Sometimes it would be years or months off if the degree is not correct. And that is still a discussion between astrologers about the house system. Some people swear that their system works, and other people swear that their system works. I know my system works. That's the best I can do for you. Just teach you what I know. So this was just an overview, but now I want to show you a chart. And I'm showing you Taylor Swift. I'm going to use Taylor in the next few lessons because she's got some goods that I'd like to show you, and she's a really good example. So when Taylor was born, the hospital was right here in the middle. And the horizon, there was a constellation rising in the horizon, and for her, it was the Scorpio constellation. And it was 25 degrees of Scorpio that was just rising up, and 34 minutes. So I want you to start training how to read this chart formation. The big number represents the minutes. Remember that I said that each house has, in a perfect world, 30 minutes, but not in a perfect world. It may have less than 30 minutes or more than 30 minutes, especially in Placidus system. So let's just look at Taylor's chart. She has 25 degrees Scorpio on her ascendant and 34 minutes. Currently, and right now, we don't care for the minutes. I don't want you to make a mistake and think these are very important. They're not. What's important is this number, the bigger number. The same for planets, the bigger number. Don't read the minutes. They're not important at the moment. So she's born with 25 degrees Scorpio ascendant. But her second house starts with 26 degrees Sagittarius. Right there and then you see that it's not an equal number to 25. And then look at that. She has Capricorn. This is the sign of Capricorn that is squished in her second house. And it doesn't really show us any numbers, any degrees, because the whole sign of Capricorn is squished in her second house, and it does not have a representation on a cusp for her. Maybe I'm jumping a little further. Hang on, let me show you something that is simpler, because we will get to Taylor. How about Brad? Brad Pitt, does he have that? No interception. Okay. Let's start with Brad, then we'll move to Taylor. So when Brad was born, there was 11 degrees Sagittarius rising on his ascendant. This will always be like that. It will never change. And the descendant would be 11 degrees Gemini. Always the opposite signs, always the opposite degrees. Same degree, opposite signs. Also here, same degree, 26 Pisces, opposite signs, 26 Virgo, opposite signs. Always an opposite on the angles. So Brad is born with 11 degrees Sagittarius. His second house is the next sign, Capricorn. But this time it has 14 degrees. This is not 30 degrees. This is, right? If it was 30 degrees, this would be 11 degrees Capricorn, but it's not. So this is 33 degrees away. If this was 30 degrees, it was 11 degrees Capricorn, but it's not. It's another 3 degrees into the sign of Capricorn. So his first house has more than 30 degrees. It's just an example. Then the next house, we wished it was 14 degrees, but it's not. Now it's 21 degrees of Aquarius. How many degrees are from 14 Capricorn? I'm just gonna let someone in. How many degrees are there from 14 degrees Capricorn to 21 degrees Aquarius? In a perfect world, if it was 14 degrees Aquarius, we would have 30 degrees, right? But we have another extra 7 degrees. So his second house is actually 30 degrees plus the 7 from the Aquarius. So 37 degrees. Same goes for his, I'm sorry, this was the second house. Same goes for his third house. 21 degrees Aquarius to 26 Pisces. How many? If it was 21 degrees Pisces, those were 30 degrees, but we have an extra 5 degrees there. So his third house is actually 35 degrees. But his fourth house is 26 degrees Pisces to 26 Aries. 30 degrees exactly, right? 30 degrees. And look what happens here. 26 to 20. It's less than 30 degrees. It's 24 degrees because we have 2 minus 6. Do you start getting the picture? Yeah? Yeah? Let's keep counting. This lesson is the hardest lesson in the whole course because we have to have to wear our mathematical cap today and just do some simple calculation. It's not a big deal, but I want to show it to you. I'll repeat it again and again until it becomes second nature because it's important. It's a foundation for everything you're going to do moving forward. Fifth house. He's got 26 degrees Aries to 20 degrees Taurus. If it was 26 degrees Taurus, we would have 30 degrees, but we don't have it. So again, oh, sorry, we did that. So that's 24 degrees. Now 20 degrees Taurus to 11 Gemini. Whoops, what's going on here? It's 9 degrees less, right? Less than 30 degrees. So it's 21 degrees only in his sixth house. This is a smaller house. What I'm showing you that not all the houses are of equal span. Some houses would be bigger, some houses would be smaller, degree-wise, even if you don't see it visually, because my program did not show you any deviation here in house sizes. They all look the same, but they're not, because if you're taking the degree count into consideration, you would notice that some of the houses are bigger and some of them are smaller. And this is just an important fact to know. Same thing goes for his seventh house. If there was 11 degrees Cancer, from 11 degrees Gemini, it would be 30 degrees, but we have an extra 3 degrees here. So we have 33 degrees, just like we had in the first house, from the first house cusp, which is the ascendant, to the second house cusp, which is the second house cusp. We have 33 degrees. The same will repeat itself. The chart has a mirror effect built into it, and that's important to remember. Everything that you calculated here regarding the house sizes will repeat itself the same way as a mirror effect on this side of the chart. Does that make sense? I hope you can remember that. So actually you can only repeat it once and you know the house sizes. Now the house sizes is not something that you care about on a daily basis so much, but I have to show it to you so you understand the basis of what it is. And sometimes people freak out and say, oh, this house is so big in my chart and this one is a little one. Yes, that's the way it is. That's who you are, and that's fine. I just want you to know. Yes.
Galit, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What you're saying, for example, for this first house, would it explain that it contains several signs in the first house? For example, in this case, since it's bigger, he has Sagittarius, but he has also Capricorn in his rising.
Correct. Very good. Correct. In a perfect world, if he had 0 Sagittarius on his on his ascendant, and then 0 Capricorn here, it would be perfect. He would only have Sagittarius in his first house.
Exactly.
Hey, perfect. It's so easy. But it doesn't work like that because he has 11 degrees Sagittarius. So he cannot have just Sagittarius. There would be an interference of another sign in, because Capricorn starts somewhere here, right? We don't see currently where Capricorn starts, but I know to tell you, you see this red line? The red line is where Sagittarius occupies part of the 12th house and part of the first house. And the green line would be where Capricorn start occupying part of the first house, part of the second house. And the yellow line is where Aquarius starts. So part of the second house, part of the third house. It's not a perfect world. We are not perfect people. We have enmeshment between signs and houses, and it's not perfect. And we'll have to figure it out how to read that, that part of the sign is here and part of the sign is there. And it's fine. It's just the way charts work. And yeah, thank you for asking that question. It's an important question. In my program, and I'm using, what's the name? Time Passages. Time Passages has those colors, which are really easy to see. And so the red color will represent fire signs. The green color will represent earth signs. The yellow color will represent earth signs. And the blue color will represent water signs. This is in my program. Other programs may have different color codes, or if at all, if they even have that division. And look at the green here. The green here represent Taurus. You see how big this green is? You see where Taurus lands in this chart? From almost the beginning of the 5th house to like mid 6th house. He's got a lot of Taurus chunk there, right? And it's different than, let's look at this Aquarius part here. Such a small Aquarian part. It got squashed in a smaller part. I'm just showing you houses and signs, and those are not the same. Some people confuse houses with signs. And what I want you to realize that signs are more fluid. They can sit and overlap on 2 houses, sometimes even on 3 houses, depends on the chart. However, houses are a life department that is set in place. The first house can never move and sit here. It's always the first house. It will always open the chart. The second house will always be a consecutive house to the first house, and so is the third and the fourth. Those are not going to move, but the signs, oh, they can live anywhere in the chart, actually, and they can be arranged starting with the ascendant. Therefore, the ascendant would be the most important part in your chart because it will dictate which sign will be in the first house, and therefore what other signs will follow and fall and land in different houses in your chart. Make sense? Anybody have any question at this moment? No questions?
I have a second question, sorry.
Go ahead, please.
If in the first house you have Aries, what does it mean that the natural houses are there in their natural sign? Does it mean anything or no?
It just means that you have a natural wheel that is, in a perfect world, it is more aligned with the natural signs, but really, no, it just, we'll have to read it just like we read any other
D'accord.
sign in the
Okay.
first. Yeah,
Okay.
it's not like you're an extra human. No.
No.
It's just your arrangement is such. Yeah.
Okay.
Vaso, please.
If they're going increasing from 30 degrees plus, so it becomes 37, rather than a minus, is that more of that? So it's more intense in that increased degree?
In a sense, a little bit, yes, right? Because we have more, and so there is more opportunity to live, to experience that sign. So for transits, yes, it will kind of create a longer transit span versus a little shorter transit span for you. But it's not really true. It will create, the planets will always transit the whole sign. They're not jumping from sign to sign and just skipping degrees. Each planet will transit from 0 degree of a sign until 30 degree of a sign. So that's not going to be a difference, but they would change houses faster. So in the example for Brad Pitt, so when a planet will transit his second house, let's say a planet like Pluto just went into Aquarius, Pluto will stay in Aquarius for those 30 degrees, no matter what, but it will be faster moving from his second house than to his third, and then jumping to another part of his third. So in a sense, it's not going to really matter. Yeah, let's not think about that. But the reason that I'm showing you that not all houses are the same is because you're going to run into it again and again and again and again. And that's going to be something you'll have to understand eventually. But it becomes such a second nature that you're not going to pay attention to the house size, but rather to the players. And those are the planets that are seated in the house and their signs in that particular house. And that's what we're going to do next lesson, in lesson number 4. We're going to understand, what does it mean that Brad has his sun in Sagittarius in the first house? How to understand that? What does it mean that he has Mars, but Mars is already in Capricorn in the first house? That is a different vibe. This is what we're going to start reading and understanding in lesson number 4. But for today, all I want you to get is the house placements, the house department. What do they mean on their own without even having planets in them? Because having planets in a sign in the house is a little more difficult. Today, we're just going to lay the foundation of the houses, if that makes sense. So I showed you Brad, and I'm going to share Taylor, because in her case, she's got something that we call intercepted signs. And I'd like you to pay attention here. Her ascendant is a 25 degrees Scorpio. Her second house is a 26 degrees Sagittarius. Good. But her third house is in Aquarius. It is not in Capricorn. Should have been Capricorn, because that's the order of things, right? Capricorn comes after Sagittarius. So what happened to her Capricorn? It got squished. It got squished inside her second house. And it doesn't have a cusp of its own. It doesn't have a house of its own. Capricorn is actually at the mercy of those two signs. On the one hand, it has Sagittarius starting the cusp of the second house. And on the other hand, it has Aquarius starting the cusp of the third house. Capricorn doesn't know doesn't own a house of its own, and it doesn't feel comfortable about not owning a house of its own. It will have to figure out how to express its glory and its traits in some other ways, which we'll get to. But I want you to notice that Capricorn, the opposite of Capricorn, is Cancer. And so if one sign is squished, its opposite sign will be squished as well. Those are called intercepted signs. You may have it in your chart. It is definitely not uncommon. It is a very common thing relating to the angle and the time and, of course, location of your birth. And so you see it again and again and again. And we'll talk about its meaning. It is not a bad thing. It is a common thing. But I'm just paying attention to it because you're going to see it again and again. So just remember, there is a concept called intercepted signs. And that's what happens when two signs get squished in a house. And that house, is it a busy house? Oh my goodness, it's very busy because that house contains Sagittarius, Capricorn, and even a little bit of Aquarius. So is that house an important house? Yeah, there's a lot of action in that house. And on top of it, Taylor was born with so many planets in that house and that house. Maybe that means that her plan, her evolutionary plan, was to be really, really focused on those two houses. And we will prove this to be right. Okay? So there is a reason behind being born with some squished houses or intercepted houses. Let's go back to sharing this. Can you see that I changed? And does it say here planets are players? Can you see that? Everybody can see that? Yeah? Okay. Because I'm not sure if I'm changing one tab to another, if you guys can see that. So this lesson is all about the houses. Remember that we said that planets are the players. Planets say, hello, I'm the sun. I want to have a purpose. The moon says, hey, I want to feel. Venus says, I want to connect. Mars says, I want to conquer and get that. Saturn says, let's make some boundaries. Jupiter says, let's expand. Excuse me, and so forth. So planets are the players. Wherever you see a planet, you know, oh, this guy is playing this role in this particular house. But signs are the style. So you may have your moon in Gemini, and somebody else would have their moon in Pisces, and somebody else will have their moon in Scorpio. And you're all going to feel and experience emotions in different ways. Now, so wherever your moon, maybe you all have the moon in the first house, but those signs, the different signs, will create different vibes to your moon. You will experience emotions in a different style. Those are the signs. But where those players are landing in your chart and which signs they're wearing, what kind of a vibe they're having, and where they're landing is the house department where the action is taking place. So if your moon is in the first house, you'll be much more explicit about your emotions rather than if your moon is in the fourth house, which is a much more inner world dynamic, or if it's in the eighth house, or if it's in the 10th house, you would care about different things, or you would prefer to feel emotions towards different things. And so the location makes a difference, just like the location that we're born in our world, right? Where the country you were born to, the home you were born to makes a difference. So these are the houses. The first house is naturally ruled by Aries. And so Aries is ruled by Mars. So it always have this vibe of initiation. Second house is ruled by Taurus, naturally. But you may have different signs in those houses. So let's learn the keywords for those houses. And again, less is more. I just want you to know maybe 2 words for each house, and that's pretty good. There are hundreds of words to each house, and I don't want you to know hundreds of words. Just 2, 3 words. It's good enough. So the first house talks about self-identity. It's who you are, how you view the world, but it's also how the world views you, because that ascendant of yours will give the vibe of who you are right away. No matter where your planets are, no matter where the sun is or the moon is, that ascendant will give you away. Everybody will sense your ascendant because there is something that you will be repeatedly doing regarding your self-identity in the first house. So the sign that you have on your ascendant is one of the most important signs in your chart. And you will exhibit that sign, you will project that sign quite a bit. The second house, it's all about your values. But what is values? First of all, it's how you value yourself. What is your self-worth between you and you? What do you think about yourself? How do you care for yourself? And what do you want to have? What's important for you to have? This will be represented by your second house. And therefore, those things that are important for you, you would like to have more of them. So people say the second house is about money. Yes, it is about money, but money is only a representation of the energy we put out there and what we value to experience in our life. Like I'm teaching you astrology right now. Obviously, this is something that is important for me. And this is part of my possessions, my qualities, my abilities. And when I transfer that to you, I receive in return money because I give you certain energy and certain capabilities that I have. And in return, in the world that we live in, I receive money. So the second house will show you how you make money in this world and what you like to do in order to make money in this world. So it's a financial house. The third house is all about communications. How do you communicate with others? What are you saying? Why are you saying that? Remember that we said that Mercury is responsible for our communication as a planet. But the third house and the sign that you have on your third house would show us how do you communicate. So let's say you have Pisces in your third house. You're going to be a spiritual communicator. How about if you have Capricorn in your third house? You're going to communicate about business, about making it happen, about achievement, and so forth. It's a totally different vibe. And what happens if you have Virgo in your third house? You're going to be that exact person that creates very detailed planning and communicate very carefully about things. So that would matter a lot, what kind of sign you have on your third house. Then the fourth house. Oh, the third house also relates to your siblings and how you learn. So communication will hold within it also your learning capabilities. But those are learning from everything around you, and especially when you're younger, because the ninth house would be also learning, but in a different way. The fourth house represents the home that you came from and the home that you built for yourself. It represents your family, your parents, your roots, your origins. These are the roots that you came from. And so the sign that you would have on your fourth house would show us what kind of vibration or feelings there was in your home. Maybe you have Sagittarius in your fourth house. That was a home of travelers or people that dealt with the law, or they were dealing with some traveling experience, or maybe teachers, or maybe you have Taurus on your fourth house. This is a family that was grounded. They were very structured family. They cared for having substantial security, different vibes of families, different vibes of roots. And that would tell us a lot about where you come from. And you bet that where you come from would make a difference in your life and who you are. So the sign is really important. And by the way, those signs that are listed here are the natural rulers of those houses. Fifth house. The fifth house is always about love. It's about those love affair, juicy house. It's the house of fun, what we like to do for fun. What brings you joy is the fifth house. What brings you pleasure? And so it's also the house of children, and it's the house of hobbies. How do you like to do, to express yourself? what do you like to do? I see a lot of authors or musicians that have a lot of prominent positions in their fifth house, because this is something that they really love to do. It comes from, you know, they say it's the muse, right? It comes from the depth of their soul, and they want to express themselves. So that is the fifth house, how you express yourself. The sixth house. The sixth house is all about health and service. It's the physical body of our existence, and so that's why it's related to health. It has many other connotations, but work is really important in the sixth house. You have to be productive in the sixth house. We can't just sit idle. Well, maybe if we have Taurus and it wants to have a good time and be lazy in the sixth house, that could be it. But if we have anything that we have in our sixth house wants to be of service, remember, it has a Virgo vibe, because Virgo is the natural ruler of the sixth house. So Virgo has to be systematic, has to be of service, has to do things, has to be productive and practical. And so that is the sixth house. And so those are the habits and the everyday routine that we have. Eventually, that routine becomes who we are. Some people like they're early risers, and at 5 a.m. they're already doing yoga on the beach. And some people like to sleep late, and they stay up late because they're avid readers and they can't finish the book until 2 a.m. These are these are parts of your character, that these are habits that create your character. And in return, your character create those habits. So you see, it's very important to figure out what we have in our sixth house, because the sign that we have on our sixth house will determine how we're going to create a routine and what kind of a routine speaks to us. We're not made equal. We are different, and we like different things. We prefer different things, and that will be determined by your sixth house, but also your health. If every day you drink and smoke, you would have different outcomes than if every day you jog and do yoga. You know, it would just have different outcomes. So you pay attention to that sixth house sign, and it will tell you a lot about what kind of habits and routine do you prefer. Seventh house. Now, remember, the first house was about yourself, identity. Who am I? That's the first house. Seventh house is, who are you coming into my life? Who are you? I'm attracted to you because you are the other, and I like to have the other, my partner, come into my life. But who are you? This will be determined, those people that we're attracted to will be determined by the sign that we have on our seventh house. Because if I have an Aries rising and I'm a very fast forward, independent, courageous personality, I have Libra on my seventh house cusp, because it's the opposite sign. Who am I going to attract? Am I going to attract a self-independent entrepreneur, hot-headed personality like myself? No, 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 no. That's going to create some friction. I wouldn't like that. I would like to to attract a Libra that would complement me and will bring the softer side into my life, that will be more complementary to me. So we always attract a mirror into our life, whether we like it or not. That's another story. But we attract kind of a mirror to show us who we are, because that's that reflection, and that is the purpose of the seventh house, to serve as a reflection for us. That reflection from our most intimate partner would show us a lot of things about ourselves, and that is how we learn from relationships. So the seventh house will always represent relationships, one-on-one relationship, partners, marriages, committed relationship. Those are important, very important in our life. The eighth house. The eighth house always represent what is the outcome of that relationship, right? Seventh house will bring the relationship in. This is the person we chose to have this experience with. Eighth house, it's the house that is ruled naturally by Scorpio. So let me tell you, this is the house of intimacy. This is the house where we open our heart and we merge with somebody else on a very intimate level. Is it comfortable? No. Are we going to be vulnerable? Yes. Do we like it? Hey, depends on the sign of your eighth house, if you like it or not. Is it going to be transformational? 100% yes. The 8th house is the house of transformations, because through our relationship and the intimacy and vulnerability we experience in our relationship, we learn a lot about ourselves and about our shadow part, because those raw emotions of the 8th house and intimacy and vulnerability will bring our fears up. Oh yeah, if we are insecure, it will come up. If we're afraid of something, it would come up. And so the 8th house is always the house of shadows that we have to transform into power. So the 8th house deals with power and powerlessness. Sometimes we're powerful, but sometimes we got to discover what the powerlessness feeling is in order to become powerful and process and transform those dark parts of ourselves, the shadow parts, into the light. So it's the house of transformation. It's called also the house of shared possession, because what do we do in the 8th house? We merge with someone else. So the 8th house, to show you the 8th house, it is exactly opposite the 2nd house. And remember, the chart is a mirror. The 1st house speaks about me. 7th house about you. The 2nd house speaks about how I make money. The 8th house speaks about how I make money together with you. How together, when we are marrying each other or coming to a partnership, how we enmesh our possessions and we create wealth together. So this is the financial aspect, axis. The 1st and the 7th house are the relationship axis. The 2nd and the 8th house are the financial axis. So we got to the 9th house. And who is the 9th house? Remember that I said that the 3rd house is how you learn and how you communicate. But this is the lower mind capacity. This is going to the store, going to the bank, running errands, doing going to work, coming back from work, talking with the neighbors, doing all those things that we have to do on a daily basis, learning a lot as we go along and do that. Hey, this is a lifelong experience. And we definitely learn from our siblings as well, because we have relationship with them. So this is the 3rd house. What is the 9th house? The 9th house is when we go to school and we open our mind to other people's ideas, big ideas, philosophers. When we read those books, when we see those videos, when we see other people's movies, we get exposed to all kinds of cultures, different cultures, not just our own. Here, we get exposed to what's around us. Here, we get exposed to what's in the world, what's even in space. This is a big way of thinking. This is where we expand our mind to higher concepts of understanding. When we learn astrology, it's probably a 9th house educational experience, because it is exposing us to very high perspective and very big, expensive overview of a concept. This is not a 3rd house dimension. It is a 9th house dimension. When you went to university, after you finish your schooling years and you went and you expanded your studies and you met all those different peoples from different cultures, speaking different languages, this is all 9th house activity. So the 9th house always likes traveling, because you meet different cultures and you suddenly broaden your horizon to understand that not everybody is equal. Everybody has different belief system and they come from different religions and has different spirituality beliefs. And that's quite all right. And it's the higher education domain. And this is the 9th house package of how to expand. Any expansion that you feel belongs to the 9th house. And when you travel far to different countries, you are doing a 9th house activity. We reached the 10th house. Oh, so let me name that axis. That axis is the educational and mind axis. It's the mental axis between the 3rd and the 9th house. It's how we acquire knowledge and how we communicate knowledge. It's the mental axis. We're moving into the 10th house that is naturally ruled by Capricorn. And that house is all about career. I said that the 6th house is work. It still is. It's the work that you do every day. You go to the office, you drink your coffee, you go to the copy machine, you answer emails, you talk to some people, you make some phone calls. These are all 6th house domain activities. But the 10th house, in the 10th house, you want to be the boss. This is what you want people to know about you. This is your public standing. This is how you have this reputation, right? You have a reputation in the 10th house. This is your social standing. So I'm an astrologer, right? You see me as an astrologer. I have other parts. I'm also a mom. I'm a grandma. I'm a friend. I'm a wife. I'm a daughter. I'm many things, but you see me as an astrologer because this is what my 10th house is representing to you. And that's what I'd like you to think of me as. This is what I'd like my reputation to be as an astrologer. So I would have a sign and probably some other indications in my 10th house to represent that astrology component of myself that I'd like you to see me as. So you have in your 10th house a certain sign and maybe certain planets that you would like other people to acknowledge that and see you as that person. It's part of who you are that you'd like to project out there. And the 10th house is always the highest point in our chart. So it's an important point for us. We all want to achieve and get recognized for our achievements of our 10th house. It's a very important part for most of us. So it's career, social standing, reputation. Those are good keywords. So let's just name that axis. This is home and this is work or outside career. So this is our belonging. This is where we belong to the home, and this is where we belong to society. This is what we represent in society. So belonging inside and belonging outside. 11th house. The 11th house is about the community. It really is about those people that you attract to your life. Who are your friends? Who is your tribe? And why do you belong to these people? Why do you attract these people into your life? Because each one of us wants to belong to a greater system than ourselves. So when we're kids, the greater system is represented by our home. When we go to college, after we graduate high school, when we go outside to the workforce or to college, we start belonging to society. And we like that. We like to feel that we belong to a greater concept than just our own life and just the background that we come from. And we start identifying ourselves with certain groups that are in alignment with our philosophies and beliefs in this lifetime. And so those will be represented by the 11th house. So the friends that we will belong to, the tribe, the communities, the organizations, if we want to do some volunteering work, and why is that important for us? They're all going to be represented by the sign that we have on our 11th house. And so if here in Leo, we would like to express our uniqueness and creativity, here in Aquarius or the 11th house, we would like to express our belonging to a greater concept than ourselves and contribute to that group. You know, sometimes you go to, and you belong to some clubs, or I belong to astrology associations or something like that, because that is in alignment with ideas and beliefs that I believe that are true for me and that expands my horizon. And so you have your house sign here that will tell you where do you belong to the greater group. So you see how we start this very individual expression of ourselves, and slowly, we develop to be more of a part of a greater group than ourselves. This is the story of the chart evolution. And the last house is the 12th house that is naturally ruled by Pisces. So, you know, I'd like, the 12th house is a very complicated terrain. What I'd like you to know about the 12th house is that is the terrain of the subconscious. Let's start right there. Because 95% of our behavior is actually ruled by our subconscious. And we are not sure what's in the subconscious. That's why it's called subconscious. It is not conscious. I call it the blind spot in the mirror. It's right here. We can't really see it. So how are we going to know what's in there? The subconscious is compiling, or it's a combination of the ancestry that we came from, the patterns that we have learned through that ancestry, through that culture, and the quality and abilities and understanding of the collective consciousness of the times that we were born into. So if you were born in 1400s, your ability to understand certain concept belonged to that time period. And you could not just escape that time period and understand different concept of 1,000 years forward. Very few people were able to do that, and they're called prophets, right? But most of the people were bound by the ability of the collective consciousness. And so are we right here, right now. We are bound to the boundaries of the collective consciousness of the time that we live in. And so our subconscious, besides having a very personal subconscious, has also a part of a collective subconscious. Our personal subconscious will keep hunting us in the way there are certain patterns that are unresolved in the family bloodline, and we would inherit them, and we would have to play into those patterns and see them and decide if we like them or not. That is one area of the subconscious terrain. Some of those patterns are great, don't get me wrong. We're here in a physical body. We inherited this DNA from our parents. Thank you very much. Otherwise, we wouldn't have this human experience. So we like that. However, some of those patterns are limiting us. And at one point or another, we'll delve into our 12th house to figure that out. So the 12th house is this huge place that contains so many things that we cannot see and we cannot name. So that's why it's called the terrain of hidden things or secrets, because it's that part of us that we don't know, and we're getting to know it as we go along on our journey. It is the axis of health. Remember that the 6th house was physical health, and so the 12th house is our mental health. And anything that we're experiencing, from depression to bipolar to whatever experiences we have with our mental health will start in the 12th house. And if we want to figure out why, we're always going to look to our 12th house. And most of it is probably inherited, either from the collective or from our bloodline. So that's the round trip around the chart, going from very personal, baby Aries, into understanding who we are, what we have, how do we communicate, where do we belong, which family, how do we express ourselves, how do we work and create systems, how do we attract someone into our life that will show us a mirror, how do we become intimate, how do we expand our horizon beyond what we learned that we are, how do we stand up in society and hold a position that matters for us. How do we attract and contribute to the greater good of all? And how do we delve into spiritual terrains that have no name, and we figure it out and we bring them into our human experience? This is the chart. Those are the houses. Those are the playground that our soul will have to play through in our chart. Any questions so far? No questions. Okay, we're doing good. All right. So let's continue. There we go. So we went through the house keywords. This is another little presentation of the house keywords. And you can go through those keywords: self, appearance, the body, attitude, identity, and so forth. Please read those. It's interesting to see how many keywords fit in one category of a house, a life department. And the more slowly, you'll add more keywords to the explanation of what that life department is. And it's fine. Just know 2 keywords now. If you know that the 4th house is home, that's great. If you know that the 1st house is self, identity, or appearance, that's great. If you know that the 10th house is career, that's great. If you know the 7th house is relationship, that's great. Just get 1 word, 2 words. It's good. Okay, make a list of which house hosts which planet in your chart and in which sign. Okay, I'd like to go first and share. Let me stop sharing that. And let's talk about an ascendant. Let's bring Brad Pitt again. Did I bring him? Yep. Okay. Brad has an ascendant in Sagittarius. Now, I don't know Brad personally, but we all know him from the news and so forth. And what we know about him is that he is, as far as I know, you know what, I'll share Taylor because I read more about Taylor than Brad. I'm not that familiar with his personal life. All I know is that he had 2 major relationships that went very public. But Taylor, I appreciate her very much. And I just want to talk about her ascendant today. None of her planets yet. Her ascendant is in Scorpio. And is Taylor a powerful person? We know she's the most powerful woman in music in our times, probably. She is so powerful, this young woman. She's 33, 34 years old, and she's the richest singer, right? The richest performer or singer, definitely a woman at such a young age. She won so many prizes, Grammy, and she made history. And Scorpio ascendant is someone who wants power. That's for sure, and wants to become powerful and wants to do it their way. They're so resilient and they're so strong and they're going for it. Nothing can stop a Scorpio ascendant from reaching a certain goal that they have, because they're just so dedicated and so determined that you cannot stop them. Will they become powerful? Yes. Will they have up and down? Yes. Will it be a power struggle? Yes. Will they be determined? Yes. So I think Taylor is a good representation of her ascendant. Of course, she has other planets to attest for what she did so far and the history she made. But I just want to look at the ascendant. And I'd like to take this moment, if you guys want to share your ascendant, just the ascendant, just the sign on your 1st house, because we said it's a really important point in your chart. Anybody want to share? Yeah, Vaso.
I am a Leo, which I'm a hairdresser. So I relate that a bit to the mane of the lion, as well as my other things I have that I do, my energy work. But I have 0 degree.
0 degree Leo.
Yeah.
That's okay. It's still a degree. It's still a 0. How sure are you of your birth time?
My mum's very sure.
Very sure. There are people that come here with 0 degree on their ascendant. It's, we see that. But whenever I see 0 degree or 1 degree, I'm always questioning the birth time. And if we get a good birth time resource, that's fine. But if we don't, we may question that. But as you said, you're a hairdresser, and you probably have some other Leo traits. You probably want some love. You want people to notice you. So you probably dress really nice, and people think that you're a little bit regal. And oh, here's Vaso coming, right? And they like to see you, and you're probably generous person. Is that correct for you? Generosity?
Yep.
Yeah. And you probably want to lead in something that you're doing. You probably want to become leader in
I
something.
own a salon. Yeah, I own a
You-
salon. I'm a
You own the
boss.
salon, right? Right. And what is your sun sign?
Everything's fire. Aries.
Aries. She's an Aries. She's a double fire. And where
A
is your
moon Aries.
and the moon is in Aries. Trust Vaso to be independent and do it her own way and not let anybody tell her what to do, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have friends that are Leo, by the way?
I have friends that are Leo, and half of my employees were Leos, oddly.
Not oddly. I want to make a point here. We tend to attract the people to our life that are the same sign of our ascendant. More than any other sign, we usually attract these kind of people because there is an affinity, a great affinity between us and them. For us, it's our ascendant, but they exhibit those qualities that we like. And so we speak the same language. It's very comfortable for us. So you attract Leos. Now it's starting to make sense. Yeah?
Yeah.
Right. Very good.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to share their ascendant? Yes, Dana.
My ascendant is 24-degree Pisces and 4 degrees Taurus, and Aries is intercepted between the two.
Fair enough. We're only going to do the ascendant right now. We're going to talk about Pisces, right? You have
Okay. Only the
Pisces.
first sign in
Yeah.
my
Pisces is your
house
ascendant.
number 1. Okay.
Ascendant can only have one sign on it. It's the first line that says ASC or before the line starts as 1. Let me just make sure that everybody gets that. This is the most
Not
important.
the house number 1. It's only the line. It's not the first house.
Correct. The first house may have different things in it, but it's that line here that is starting the whole wheel. And so this degree, 11 degrees, Sagittarius is Brad Pitt ascendant.
Okay.
That's it. We don't care what's in the first house yet.
Okay,
We're going to talk about the ascendant right now. Makes sense?
So,
Yeah.
yes.
All right.
So I'm 24 degrees Pisces.
24 degrees Pisces. And tell us a little bit something about Pisces that you feel connected with.
I'm a therapist, and I'm very intuitive and very much in touch with spirituality and religion and the depth, like what's hidden, everything related to subconscious. And I like peace, and I struggled putting some boundaries in my life. I was very porous, and I had difficulties to create the boundary between me and the other. I was always in the fusion with the other.
100%. And what is your sun sign? Where is your sun? What
Capricorn.
sign?
Capricorn.
Is Capricorn compassionate, spiritual, a therapist with very porous boundaries? No.
No.
What is Capricorn?
Capricorn is goal-oriented, hard worker, determined, sometimes stubborn, and very much, stubborn sometimes. Like it's more
strong achiever, an achiever. right?
More
So-
self-centered than the
Right.
than the
So if you would tell someone I'm a Capricorn, they would say, "Oh, you're a hard person. You're probably an achiever." And you say,
rigid.
"No, but I'm such a porous person. I can't even put boundaries sometimes to people. I'm so compassionate." That is your ascendant. So you see how the ascendant sometimes plays such a big role in our personality, and we don't know that it's the ascendant because we think I'm a Capricorn. Why am I behaving like that? It's the ascendant. The ascendant is how we view the world and how the world views us sometimes,
True.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. But
Very
you know, the people that I attracted the most in my friendship are all Capricorns. They're not Pisces.
We'll figure that one out, right? And by the way, your Capricorn is in your 11th house. Is that correct?
10th, 11th.
10th, 11th. That's why you attract Capricorns. We said those are the friends that we attract to our life, right? And you have Capricorn. So here you go. That's why you attract the Capricorn. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yeah, Aista.
Yes, I have a Taurus, 42 degrees ascendant. So,
42 degrees? No,
no, 11 degrees Taurus, yes,
much better. Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
And that resonate a lot with me, I'm very detail oriented, get things done. Try to get everything sharp and have the impetus to do so. So that besides that I'm an Aries, so it's fire and not going and have a lot of friendship. So that for 30 something years, so I kept the outgoing with
Would you
friendship.
say that the Taurus part of you is very stable and
Yeah,
resilient and strong and, making it happen and preserving what you have and taking it more slow, but for sure practical, business oriented. Would you say that?
all mental.
Would you, yeah. And so that Aries is not that much practical, and that Aries is not that much an achiever that can hold. Aries is jumping from one thing to another, right? But that Taurus gave you the ability to decide on a
Keep
goal and
focused.
go for it, right? Focus, make it happen, make it happen. So do you see how that helps you become who you are?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Very good. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Sophia.
I'm an Aquarius rising at 21 degrees. So, yeah, I guess I'm sociable, or I don't know, outgoing, maybe original and freedom loving, conceptual. I'm always told that I'm too conceptual, and innovative, definitely. But yeah, my sun is also in Aquarius, but it's in the 12th house.
Okay, but we have a double Aquarian here, right? So that is an extra edge to your Aquarian personality.
Yeah.
So it would be hard to distinguish which gave you the ascendant and which gave you the sun, because they're both in alignment. So it just means that you meant to come here and experience a double Aquarian personality, which is definitely freedom loving. Some people may say that you're a little bit stubborn. Is that correct for you?
Yeah, because yes, definitely.
Yes. And so that Aquarian, as much as it is futuristic and allowing themselves to think outside of the box, they're also seeing themselves as so innovative that they get stubborn and holding to their ideas. So there is the plus and the minus, but definitely sociable, nice person, and seeing everybody's benefit, trying to benefit everybody in equal ways. Is that correct for you?
Definitely. And plus my moon is in Libra, so that also adds to
Oh,
it.
wow. Wow. Yeah, you're a lot of air.
A lot of air.
Yeah. Did you belong to many groups or organizations, or did you work in organization?
Yes, but I'm not as attached as as other people should. I mean, I'd like to be more attached to it in some ways. I can I don't know, maybe I am attached. I don't know. I'm trying to figure things out right now.
Let's not figure the whole chart. I'm just talking.
No, 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 no. I mean about just
Yeah,
you know,
I want
I'm
to show
going
you
through.
a point why the ascendant is so important in our chart, and then we will figure out the whole chart. Don't worry about that. But thank you for sharing. I appreciate that, Sophia. Yeah. Anyone else want to share their ascendant? No? Okay. Oh, Lynn, please go ahead.
So my ascendant is Libra, 17 degrees, and my sun sign is Aries. And I remember when I had an aunt who was very much into astrology, so she told me this at a young age, and it really made sense to me because they're opposite signs, and the Aries just wants to go, 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 but the Libra wants to like weigh things out first. So I had always felt that, like, the two different sides of me, that one wanted to just wait and like weigh things, create harmony, and then once I was sure that it was the right thing to do, I would be the Aries who would then charge ahead. But I would never be like an Aries who would, like, you know, trample across everyone else and knock people out on the way, because I've always been like very assertive of, okay, where are we? What are we going to do? Is everyone okay? You know,
Considering.
considerate of everyone else, and analyzing, even in work, analyzing everything before making a move.
And let's talk about beauty.
Yes, exactly. And being in the creative world, I've been a stylist for 20 years, and worked a lot on campaigns and creating beauty. Yeah.
Libra is always related. Libra ascendant always relate to beauty, and they're beautiful people, as you are. It's just the way it goes, because Libra are instinctually, they have this aesthetic. They were born like this. The ascendant leads us to something that we are, right? So they were born with that aesthetic sense. So right away, you know that Libra is beautiful. The pluses of Libra is really bringing harmony and justice and caring, to care for others. The issue with Libra ascendant is always making the right choice, and how long it takes to figure out how to make the right choice. That's the challenge, right?
Yeah. And then, but I felt that the Aries sun helped me push forward.
Just imagine
So
if you were.
It helped my Libra personality to not get stuck in just weighing, but it made me be able to charge forward as well.
Very good. Just imagine you were a double Libra. Yeah, it's much more complicated.
That would be challenging,
Now you start getting the idea, right? Okay, so this is a quiz, a quick quiz. Let's see the winner. What is my ascendant? Now you go figure it out. Let's see if someone can. I'll give you a clue. Remember when we talked about my Mercury and you figured it out? I gave you a clue that helped you. I'll give you a clue that will help you. It's the way I, now you know me a little bit better. It's the third time that we're meeting. It's something that I do, and the way that I keep doing it. It's true, my Mercury is involved there a little bit, but you get a sense from me that I'm going to give it away. I don't know how to say
think
it
you're Capricorn.
without giving it away. All right, try to figure out what my ascendant is. It's something that I constantly do, and you already have a sense of it. You relate to me in this way, and you see me in this way. I can't hear you.
You know, I thought you was a
Gemini, because
Capricorn.
of the communication that you gather and the speaking, no?
No, but Gemini on my 6th house, so you got something there going, but I just gave it away. All right, who said something else?
I said Capricorn.
Capricorn. I'm definitely a Capricorn for sure. The way I systematically do things, right? I'm making sure that you understand. I'm so systematic. I have to I have to be making sure that everything is the best and to achieve my goals. And I talk about it quite often that I say my goal to this course is, right? I present my goals to you and I completely am clear about my goals. This is my Capricorn. I'm a Leo. I'm a Leo sun. And that's my vibe with my hair and the whole thing. But the Capricorn is so responsible. I show up on time. I am before time. I give you homework. I'm always sending you the right links. I don't make mistake in that. It's so important to me to have the structure. I even sent you an email in the beginning of the course with the word structure in it, right? It was so important for me. That is my Capricorn. And I do tend to attract Capricorns into my life, and I like them a lot, and they like me. So the ascendant is something that is so important for us, and that people identify us by our ascendant. Sometimes they think that you are that sign of your ascendant. They say, oh, they tell me, oh, you're a Capricorn. I'm not a Capricorn, but they recognize me like that. Yeah. Yeah, Dana, you wanted to say something?
No, I would have said Virgo, but
Virgo.
yeah.
Because I do have 3 planets in Virgo. That is true. That is
Mm.
true. So you do see that as well. We're a mix of everything, and it's hard to distinguish which one is which, but I'm just showing you that the vibe of the ascendant is really, really strong. And you see me, I'm always kind of a structure. There is structure about me.
True.
Yeah, it's always like that. And it's not even something that I think about, but it is.
Mm.
I like to say that people that have Sag on their ascendant are always late to meeting me. They're always like 2 minutes late because they're so busy and they're so on the movement. And I love that. I already know who's coming just by looking at their chart. It's a funny thing. So I want to go back to the course. I don't know why I wrote it here, but I've asked you to make a list of which house hosts which planet in your chart. Now, don't do the write a sentence describing planet, house, and sign. We'll do it in the next time. I don't know why it's here, but I'm just giving you an example because that's what we're going to do in lesson number 4. My Mars is in Libra in the 9th house because I want you to start looking at where your planets are. Because if you have Sun in the 9th house, that Sun would have a different purpose than if you have it in the 2nd house or in the 6th house. That Sun would function completely different. Even if you have the same sign, it would just function because of the house position. The Sun in the 10th house, your Sun would really care to become a professional in your career. But in the 7th house, your Sun would really care to have a relationship. And if it's in the 4th house, let me tell you, you'll be connected to your home life very much so. If it's in the 2nd house, you want to make money. If in the 12th house, you are dealing with some spirituality things in this lifetime. So where a planet sits would make a big difference in the choices that we will create in our life. And especially if it's one of the luminaries, the sun and the moon, but any other planet would make a difference. So I'm giving you an example that my Mars is in the 9th house. That's true. My Mars is in the 9th house and it's in Libra. Now, Mars is all about go get it, ambition, it's the drive, it's the courage. And look what I'm doing, right? 9th house is all about education. One of the keywords for the 9th house, I did not mention it, but it's teaching. 9th house is teaching. Teaching what? Wisdom, philosophy, higher education, religion, spirituality. What am I teaching you? I'm a teacher for astrology, which is some sort of a spiritual practice. And so my Mars keep pushing me to do that. And how am I doing it? I'm doing it hopefully in a nice way, as the Libra would, right? My Mars is in the Libra. I'm trying to be considerate. I'm asking your opinion. I'm nice about it. I'm trying to hear your side. I'm very idealistic about it and very thoughtful. So you see how my Mars is always pushing me to the teaching or learning axis, because that's what I love. That's my desire. My Mars is there. That's what I desire, to keep learning. It's my personal desire. And so I wrote this sentence: I'm ambitious in my pursuit of higher spiritual knowledge. Ninth house is spiritual knowledge. Ambitious is Mars. I love learning and teaching spiritual education. Learning and teaching spiritual education is the ninth house domain. And I do it in a very thoughtful and graceful ways, Libra, bringing balance, Libra, and my ideals, Libra, into my teachings. Ninth house. I also love traveling, ninth house, to different countries, ninth house, and learning, ninth house, about different cultures, ninth house. So actually, this sentence is all coded with words that belong to the ninth house, to Libra, and to Mars. We're going to do it next time. So I don't want you to be so worried about that. That's what all we're going to do next time, is those planets in houses, in signs. I'm going to put all this together. But what I would like you to do is to make a list of where your planets are, in which sign, which house. That's it. Just start looking at that. Start looking at that. It's becoming a 3D experience, right? This is a 2D diagram, but we are looking at a 3D holistic experience, because the chart becomes alive. Does that make sense? Yeah? Any questions about that? No? How do you like that so far? Does it start getting more juicy, right? Yeah, we start understanding the differences and how to figure out those layers and how to put one layer on top of another. I love this. This is what astrology really gives us, the juice and the meat, and we can understand the differences. Because just imagine, I have Mars in my ninth house in Libra. Just imagine one of you has Mars in your ninth house, but it's in Aries, or it's in Taurus, or it's in Sagittarius, or it's in Capricorn. It would be a different Mars. Yes, you would still be ambitious about higher education, traveling, but your manner of doing that would be completely different than mine. Yeah, makes sense? That's how we become, we have a different thumbprint. We are so individualistically designed, and that's what makes us so special. Yeah. Very good. I'm happy that we did that. Yeah. Yeah. A question, Sophia?
Yeah, I have a question. Maybe there's spirituality in the 12th house and spirituality in the 9th house.
Good question. Yeah.
Could you explain the difference?
Yes, yes. Spirituality in the ninth house is more alongside of the religion, philosophical part of life. You know, we all read those philosophers from the 12th century or whatever. This is the ninth house, higher education, that streams down the line of education. Spirituality in the 12th house is meditation, going within and connecting with the source, with the universe, whatever that is, and downloading personal experiences for ourselves. It's not something that we've learned from something or from someone. We did not read a text for that. We just got it. We walked in nature and we had this epiphany. That's the 12th house. We just get it. It's our direct connection. Make sense?
Yeah.
So Galit, the 12th house is not what was blocked, like from karmic previous life, or our luggages, the things that we used to be good at, but that were blocked. It's not that, the 12th house.
Yeah, well, I don't like the word block so much, but it's both. You know, the 12th house is the terrain of Pisces. Pisces has no boundaries. So actually the 12th house contains everything, but in a sense, it contains our subconscious. So part of the patterns that we inherited from other lives and our bloodline are in the 12th house. The word blocked is representing our inability to access that from our conscious mind, right? We usually spend most of our waking hours in our conscious, in our frontal cortex, right? We don't spend our because it's beta, you know, we're in beta brain waves, and this is the conscious mind constantly. We are so used to be here that we don't know anything else. But when we go to sleep, or when we meditate, or where we go outside and we're alone, we have more access to that terrain of the subconscious. So blocked, it's not really blocked, but we are not used to do that movement into our subconscious. We're not trained in that so much. Once we train in that, we can excavate more knowledge from our 12th house. Does that make sense? That explains.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very good. All right. Have a wonderful week. Expand your knowledge more. Do your homework, and I'll see you next time. Okay? Take care. Bye-bye then. Bye-bye.
Thank you